Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night Gane versus Volkov. First off, we have no injustices at all, so everything I'm going to be talking about are all honorable mentions. Basically, any scorecard that I had an issue with, but the fighter that won. So, it's just me nitpicking. Okay, so first honorable mention is Rosa versus Jaynes. First, I want to give an honorable mention to me first. So, originally I had scored this card 30-27. And I looked at the other two judges' scorecards afterwards, getting ready to give them an injustice or give them an honorable mention, right? Dave Hagen and Mike Bell. They had scored. Oh, I'm sorry. Ron McCarthy and Chris Lee. I was getting ready to give them an honorable mention for giving the last round to Jaynes. But on further inspection, it just kind of caught me weird. It just caught me weird, and so I rewatched the fight. And I changed my scorecard. What I originally, I was looking at my reasoning, and what I wrote down was, Rosa got a takedown. He had some submission attempts. Then he got hit with some big shots. Then Jaynes got a takedown with a submission attempt, and then Rosa got ground and pound to end the round. Now, I wrote that down. It was correct. The problem was I'd given the wrong person the score. Now, I'm not saying that I had incorrectly put in the scorecard. I put it in intending to give it to Rosa, but I rewatched it just feeling as though looking at the other two judges' scorecards, I felt as though I might have missed something. And what I had missed was that while Rosa was on the ground the first time, and he gave some sub attempts, sure, there was no ground and pound. They got up relatively quickly, and Jaynes had those big shots were enough to get him the takedown, gave him some sub attempts. Now, there were no ground and pound shots in that exchange on the bottom when he got the takedown, when Jaynes got the takedown, but he did more in that round to take that round. And I think what got me was that little flurry at the end by Rosa that initially made me give him the round. I definitely shouldn't have done that, and it should have gone to Jaynes. So my original scorecard was 30-27. Now it's 29-28 for Rosa, but still Rosa won though, so whatever. But now looking at I get honorable mention, and Bird gets an honorable mention for that third round also. Ron McCarthy also gets an honorable mention, even though he gave a 10-9 for Jaynes in the third, which was fine, which we revised. He gave a 10-9 for Jaynes in the first. Now, in that first round, Jaynes got outstruck by Rosa, and Rosa got a takedown in that round. So it's obvious that the scorecard should have been 29-28. Honorable mention for me, Bird, and McCarthy. So that's the first honorable mention. Second honorable mention is the Avila versus Stoliarenko fight. Now, this one was pretty easy to score. This one's very easy to score. It ended in a submission win for Avila, but I gave it 10-9 to Avila in the first, and then a 10-9 to Stoliarenko in the second. Now, Tony Weeks gave a 10-9 for Stoliarenko in the first. Now, that's a little confusing. It's a bit confusing. I'm a little lenient with it, but not so much, because though it was a close fight, the bigger shots were landed by Avila. So that's a little weird. So that's an honorable mention for him. The more confusing part, I'm a little lenient with Weeks because it was a close round, but Avila landed the tougher shots, or the bigger shots. The real confusing part for me is Saul D'Amato giving a 10-9 for Avila in the second round. Now, if you don't remember what happened in the second round, Stoliarenko got a takedown with a submission attempt and outstruck Avila on the feet. Now, in the clinch, Avila landed some shots, but it wasn't enough to take the round. It absolutely was not enough to take the round. Definitely an honorable mention for Saul D'Amato, as well as Tony Weeks, but more for Saul D'Amato on this one. Our next honorable mention is for the Nzechukwu and Marques fight. Now, during the broadcast, I was watching, and there was like a little, they do those tweets where fans put in their scorecards, and in my head, if there's one thing I'm scared of, it's 10-8s, right? I despise 10-8s, right? Because unless there's a good reason to give it 10-8, then you should give it 10-8. In the back of my head, I was thinking, someone's going to give it 10-8 for this, because he controlled him the entire round. But we're not stupid. He barely hit him. He controlled, Marques controlled Nzechukwu's back for that entire round, but he didn't hit him. So I'm thinking this is an easy 10-9. Nothing should do with this. Instead, we have no judges who gave the 10-8. So I was thinking just about that fan. But let's roll into a different round. So Dave Hagen gave a 10-9 in that second round for Nzechukwu. Now, in that second round, Nzechukwu had some nice shots on the feet, right? But for the majority of the round, Marques got a takedown and controlled him for most of the round, right? That's obviously his round. He's the only judge that scored it that way. So that's an honorable mention for Dave Hagen for that round too. Okay, here's where we get into all the 10-8 nonsense now. So, next honorable mention is for Fili versus Pineda. Now, that fight ends in a no contest via an eye poke by Fili. During the fight, towards the end of that first round, one of Fili's coaches screams, "That's a 10-8." And my head swivels because it's not a 10-8. And then Fili in the interview in the cage then goes, "That's a 10-8." And I go, on no planet is that a 10-8. Now, what happened in that first, right? Fili outstruck Pineda, got 2 takedowns, and that was it. Yeah, I mean that was it, really. I mean, he hit him bad. Now, here's where the confusion lies. It's not a 10-8 because Pineda was active. Fili is acting as though he didn't get hit at all, right? Pineda was hitting him with some good shots, great leg kicks. He was active the entire round. So to say that it was a 10-8 is just really bad. It's really bad. I gave a 10-9 to Fili in the first. But then I believe the judges came in. Camijo gave a 10-8. The rest of the judges gave a 10-9, but Camijo gave a 10-8. And that's just poor. That's bad. So honorable mention for Camijo for that one. Another honorable mention, Barcelos versus Valiev. I had it 29-28 Valiev, giving him a 10-9 in the first and the third. Here's where we get into the 10-8 drama. When the scorecards were read, I I thought as though, before I had looked at the actual scorecards, I thought that Mike Bell, right, had given, because all the scorecards are correct. They reflect my scorecard, except for one little problem. Mike Bell, I thought when they had read out that Mike Bell gave a 28-28, I thought that Mike Bell used the third round to say it was close. Right? Now, I don't believe it was close. It wasn't close. I think Valiev did enough to definitively win the third round. But when I looked at the scorecard, he gave a 10-8 for the second round. Now, the second round is correct that Barcelos won, right? In that second round, it's a close round on the feet. Then Barcelos gets 2 knockdowns and a little bit of ground and pound at the very end of the round, really. But it's close on the feet for most of the fight. And then Barcelos gets 2 knockdowns, two quick knockdowns with a little bit of ground and pound. It's a nice round for him, but it's not a 10-8. In no world is it a 10-8. You know, again, a 10-8 is, I dominated the round. You didn't you won the round convincingly. You didn't dominate the round because you had 2 knockdowns at the very end with some ground and pound. There's a lot of fights like that, and they're never a 10-8. So honorable mention there for Mike Bell for that. And then you have the final honorable mention of the night. This one I'm not going to really give to anyone, but this one is for Gane V Volkov. I had it 49-46 with me giving a 10-9 to Volkov in the first, and then the rest are 10-9s to Cyril Gane. That first round was really close. I had saw Volkov essentially just outstriking Gane. It was close on the feet, but I gave the edge to Volkov. The other judges saw it the other way, and I'm not mad at it because it was very close. It was very close. So, Camijo and McCarthy gave that first to Cyril Gane, but Saul D'Amato gave the 10-9 to Volkov. I'm not mad at either of those scorecards. So, 2 judges had it 50-45, and then Saul D'Amato had it 49-46. I also had it 49-46. And that is all. Nothing serious. Nothing serious on this card. In terms of the judges messing anything up. I think the only thing that really messes with my head is that Barcelos second round, not a 10-8. That's stupid. That's really dumb. And then that Avila one, it's tied going into the third. It's 100% tied. I don't know how 2 judges have it in a way where if this fight had ended, this was going to go down to a split decision. Now, granted, let's say Avila wins. It goes down into a split decision for her, right? Because if Stoliarenko wins that third round, I believe she would have won also. I mean, this was going to be a straight toss-up. So, you know, I'm just thankful that it didn't go to the judges' hands, but the judges got it. Overall, they got it. They did well tonight. Once again, thank you for listening, and God bless.